Okay. Assalamu alaikum सबको and thank you for this opportunity. हम ये English में present करेंगे and in this presentation I will briefly speak on Janabe Zainab Salawatullah alayhi and her pivotal role in spreading the message of Islam on justice. I also try to reflect on her leadership such that we can draw feminist inspirations for our own lives. So to begin with, we know that Bibi Zainab alayhi salam was the daughter of Janabe Fatima alayhi salam and Imam Ali alayhi salam. As per traditions, she was born on the 1st of Shaban in the 6th Hijri. Another tradition suggests that her date of birth is the 5th Jamadi al-Awwal. We also know that her name signifies adornment to her father. And we see how that was so true in the case of Janabe Zainab, with her strong spiritual foundation, her courage and fearlessness. Bibi Zainab was often also referred to as Saniya Zahra, meaning the second Zahra, due to her striking resemblance to her mother in character and virtues. In her early life, she also witnessed the demise of her grandfather Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and her exalted mother in quick succession. At just 6 years old, Bibi Zainab alayhi salam became the manager of her father's household. At that time, Imam Ali alayhi salam chose to withdraw from the power struggle, dedicating himself to the pursuit of knowledge and spreading knowledge. He spent most of his time at the mosque or home and also nurtured his children. Imam Hassan, Imam Hussein alayhi salam, Zainab alayhi salam, and Kulsum alayhi salam. His guidance instilled in them such profound qualities that they remain revered by billions today, exemplifying the lasting impact of Imam Ali's wisdom and devotion. Bibi Zainab, who was now the manager of a house that was frequented by intellectuals and political figures. Her younger sister, Kulsum, and even the men of the household, including 3 imams, respected and deferred to her wisdom. Though denied a typical childhood, Bibi Zainab alayhi salam transformed adversity into strength, growing into an accomplished and influential young woman. At the age of 11, Bibi Zainab alayhi salam was united in a nikah with her cousin Abdullah bin Jafar bin Abu Talib. After several years, by the time she came to live in Janabe Abdullah's house, Bibi Zainab alayhi salam was already well versed in the Quran, gave lectures to the women of Medina on Islam, on ethics, and other philosophical topics. When she migrated to Kufa from Medina, as her father transferred his seat to Kufa, she continued her schedule of teaching women and giving lectures. It was important to highlight her upbringing, trainings, and experiences to establish the strong spiritual foundation which was evident from her early years, preparing her for the immense responsibilities she would later shoulder. With respect to her role in the Battle of Karbala, Allama Iqbal, for instance, notes, in the Book of Adoration, Karbala and Damascus are intertwined. Hussein alayhi salam wrote the first, Zainab alayhi salam authored the other chapter. Lady Zainab alayhi salam is also titled as Sharikatul Hussein, as if her dignity is worthy of note due to her partnership in bearing Imam Hussein's most strenuous responsibility. During the battle, Janabe Zainab watched the massacre with fortitude and in full command of her senses. She saw the slaying of 6 sons of Imam Ali alayhi salam, her own 2 sons, Honor Muhammad. She looked on as her beloved nephew Ali Akbar alayhi salam fell. And then her trusted and treasured Qamar Bani Hashim Hazrat Abbas alayhi salam. From a hillock, she saw nephew Qasim bin Hassan go into the battlefield and take on the hundreds who quickly surrounded him. Zainab al-Islam continued to watch the massacre of family, friends, and ardent followers. consoling and supporting the family members who were left behind by the martyrs. After the heart-wrenching events of the day of the battle came the events of Sham-e-Ghariba. Janabe Zainab alayhi salam was a source of strength for everyone in the camp, maintaining her composure even in the face of overwhelming grief. Janabe Zainab's leadership, not only in protecting her family, but also the speeches, sermons, and addresses are studies in courage, forbearance, and personal bravery of this remarkable lady. Whereas Yazid had most of the nobles, grandees, tribal chiefs, and other power brokers in his pocket, Bibi Zainab alayhi salam decided to use people's power against the establishment. In the marketplace of Kufa, surrounded by a bewildered horde of onlookers who had been ordered to gather there by the governor to come watch the fate of rebels to the caliphate, Bibi Zainab delivered a landmark sermon which turned things on their head. She introduced herself and individually identified the heads on the lances, praised her brother Hussein alayhi salam, and explained the reasons for his martyrdom. The address that Bibi Zainab gave in the marketplace of Kufa has been variously reported as one of the greatest pieces of oratory ever heard in that town. Ubaidullah had the prisoners brought into his court, where she gave a severe tongue lashing to Ubaidullah to his face. It was because of her steadfastness and profound understanding of the true beauty that in the court of Ibn Ziyad, she said with firmness that she saw nothing but beauty in Karbala. Ubaidullah ordered that she be silenced. Seeing that the mood in the court was fast turning against him, Ubaidullah hurriedly called off the gathering and ordered that the survivors of Karbala be sent to Damascus in a haste. The journey from Kufa to Damascus must have taken 25 to 30 days. Bibi Zainab alayhi salam and Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salam spoke to over 100 congregations, big and small, before the party reached Damascus. Zainab's eloquent oratory had the ripple effect of sending the message of Imam Hussein far and wide, that he had laid down his life as a conscious decision to save Islam from extinction, and that now the religion was safe. The historical speech of Hazrat Zainab among the people of Kufa was reminiscent of the sermons of her father, Imam Ali alayhi salam. By the time the Karbala captives reached Damascus, the events at Karbala had gained much currency. There were rumblings of revolt and Yazid could sense power slipping. Bibi Zainab challenged Yazid in his court. She lauded the qualities of her brother and challenged Yazid's claims of having triumphed over Imam Hussein alayhi salam. She foretold that Yazid's rule would be over shortly. She said that although Imam Hussein alayhi salam and his companions had been killed at Karbala without mercy or remorse, Yazid would never be able to erase their memory. At this stage, the whole assembly was in frenzy. The women of Yazid's house wept openly over the severed heads and were the first to offer condolence to Bibi Zainab alayhi salam. Mourning for Hussein alayhi salam began in the house of the accursed Yazid. Soon Damascus too was getting very restive, so Yazid decided to offer release to Imam alayhi salam. Bibi Zainab alayhi salam was consulted by the Imam. She said that she would accept release, but on 3 conditions. First, that she be accommodated in a house large enough to receive condolences from the women of Damascus. Secondly, that the severed heads of the martyrs be returned to her along with the property looted at Karbala on Ashura. Thirdly, she wished to travel to Karbala to bury the heads of the martyrs in their proper place. These conditions laid the foundation of the institution of Azadari. The house where she received condolences from women became the first Majlis-e Hussein alayhi salam, and it was held within half a mile of Yazid's court. We draw some lessons from her lives in terms of standing up for what is right, even in the face of overwhelming odds. Janabe Zainab is a timeless example of how faith, courage, and determination can overcome even the most daunting challenges. She serves as an inspiration, especially for women in leadership, resilience, and standing up against oppression. And here I draw some feminist learnings from her life and role in Karbala and beyond. There is a popular feminist phrase, the personal is political, which suggests that personal experiences are deeply connected to larger social and political structures. Her personal sacrifices were political acts because they were part of a larger stand against Yazid's unjust rule. By enduring and publicly bearing witness to these sacrifices, she transformed personal pain into a powerful statement against the tyrannical regime, making it clear that the personal loss was tied to a collective resistance. In a patriarchal society, Janabe Zainab stood as a beacon of defiance, challenging the norms that sought to silence or marginalize women. Her decision to speak out, lead the surviving members of her family, and publicly challenge Yazid's authority was a powerful act of defiance against the societal norms that sought to confine women to a private sphere. Janabe Zainab's leadership and public speaking after the tragedy of Ashura exemplify the feminist emphasis on the power of voice in challenging oppression. Her eloquent speeches, particularly in the courts of Yazid and Ibn Ziyad, were pivotal in condemning the injustices of Umayyad regime. Janabe Zainab's life embodies the feminist ideals of resilience. In the face of overwhelming adversity, her unwavering strength and determination are key to understanding her role as an activist. By challenging the oppressive norms of her time, she asserted a powerful new narrative of justice and resilience, inspiring future generations to stand against tyranny and uphold the principles of righteousness. Janabi Zainab's role in empowering those around her, especially the women and children of her family, underscores the feminist principle of building collective agency and amplifying marginalized voices. By creating spaces for the voices of those who were oppressed and promoting their representation. She shaped the post Karbala narrative, empowering her community to persist in the fight for justice. Janabi Zainab's upbringing in a household that emphasized knowledge and spirituality reflects the feminist principle of intellectual and spiritual empowerment. Her deep intellectual prowess and profound understanding of religious and ethical principles illustrate how education, along with spiritual growth, can empower women to lead, challenging injustice, and advocate for moral values. She was also an establisher of institutions. Janabe Zainab laid the foundation for a sustained revolution by institutionalizing the memory of Karbala, empowering women, mobilizing social and political resistance, and preserving ethical and religious values, ensuring that the principles of justice and truth for which Imam Hussein alayhi salam sacrificed his life would continue to inspire and guide generations to come. Before I end this presentation, I want to leave you with a question to reflect on. In remembering the sufferings of Prophet ﷺ's family, how are we following in their footsteps and challenging the systemic injustices of our time? Thank you for patiently listening to this presentation. Taqabbalallah. Kishore Baji, I'm done with the presentation.